An open source group launches Don't Upgrade, Escape Windows 11 campaign. Canadians think they're terrible at AI, but they're probably wrong. AI bots are eating the internet and choking cultural sites in the process, and a musician leads the fight against AI with a Trojan horse poison pill. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Microsoft handed the open source movement its biggest recruiting opportunity in years, and in the spirit of better late than never, it appears that the open source movement may try to capitalize on it. On October 14th, 2025, just 4 months away, Windows 10 support officially ends, leaving millions of users facing an expensive choice. And although the movement to Windows 11 has accelerated, there is still an incredible base of people who have not yet moved. The Document Foundation, makers of LibreOffice, an open source Office substitute, are seizing the moment with an international campaign called endof10.org. Their message is entirely simple: don't upgrade to Windows 11, escape Microsoft entirely. And here's why they think that now's the time. Windows 11 is more than a simple upgrade. It forces deeper cloud integration, requires Microsoft accounts, and demands new hardware that makes millions of perfectly good PCs obsolete. Plus, subscription costs keep climbing. So, the group's alternative pitch, Linux plus LibreOffice, gives you the same functionality without licensing fees. It works on older hardware, and it can use open standards that can prevent vendor lock-in. Their alternative pitch? According to the group, Linux plus LibreOffice gives you the same functionality without licensing fees. It works on older hardware and uses open standards that prevent vendor lock-in. The group says Microsoft cannot decide to end support at any time, as it's doing with Windows 10. The timing isn't coincidental. Organizations worldwide are already making the switch. Denmark has recently announced its intention to move off Microsoft. A German state government is moving, and the country itself has declared that it wants a German software stack. While these movements are part of concerns about digital sovereignty, and not totally unfounded, in the case of Denmark, Microsoft actually did shut down services for a member of the International Criminal Court. While these movements are part of concerns about digital sovereignty, and not totally unfounded, in the case of Denmark, Microsoft actually did shut down services for a member of the International Criminal Court, and should be called out for that. But in addition to this, cost savings are adding to the argument. The case made by the Document Foundation will certainly add some momentum to this. The Foundation recommends starting with a test installation on a second partition or in a non-critical department. They're betting that forced obsolescence will finally push mainstream users to consider what Linux advocates have been promoting for decades. Despite its overwhelming success in internet infrastructure, in mobile devices, and in much of IoT, Linux, which runs almost all of the internet, has never had a success on the desktop. It'll be interesting to see if this is the one time the movement catches on. Canadians are giving themselves a collective meh when it comes to artificial intelligence skills, according to a new TD Bank survey that reveals a surprising confidence gap. While 87% of 2,500 respondents said they're comfortable learning and adapting to new technologies, only 3% gave themselves an A grade for AI skills, and a whopping 40% awarded themselves a C grade, the equivalent of barely passing. But here's the twist. TD executives think Canadians are selling themselves short. The survey suggests that although Canadians seem to be comfortable adapting to AI, the technology may feel unfamiliar, said Christine Morris, a senior executive vice president at TD. The real issue might be trust and not ability. Only 43% of respondents consider AI a reliable source of accurate information, a skepticism that could be holding people back from fully engaging with AI tools. And this creates an interesting paradox. Canadians are tech-savvy enough to adapt to new technologies, but cautious enough to doubt AI's reliability. The combination of capability and skepticism might actually be healthier than blind enthusiasm seen elsewhere. The survey, conducted by Ipsos in March, suggests Canada's approach to AI adoption is measured rather than reckless, perhaps explaining why Canadians think they're underperforming when they might actually be taking a more thoughtful approach. AI companies' insatiable hunger for training data is creating an unintended victim. The very cultural institutions whose knowledge they're trying to harvest, museums, galleries, libraries, and archives, report being overwhelmed by aggressive bot swarms that are knocking their websites offline. A new survey from Glam eLab found that 39 out of 43 cultural organizations experienced recent traffic surges, with 27 directly blaming AI training bots. The problem has become so severe that institutions only notice it when their digital collections go dark. The report warns that respondents worry the swarms of AI training data bots will create an environment of unsustainably escalating costs for providing online access to collections. And here's the cruel irony. These cultural institutions exist to provide public access to knowledge, but the AI bots are making that mission financially impossible. Traditional defenses aren't working. Robots.txt files that ask bots to behave nicely are being ignored, and placing collections behind logins defeats the purpose and provides a barrier for public access. Some institutions are fighting back with bot defenses from AWS and Cloudflare, which do reduce the load. Some are reluctantly putting logins on their sites, and a number of publishing firms seem to be doing this as well. But these solutions create their own dilemma. Sites are now requiring user logins even for free content and effectively privatizing what was once public knowledge. The report's stark conclusion: AI companies need to find sustainable ways to access data or risk destroying the very cultural resources they're trying to learn from. And finally, a professional musician who says he stopped releasing music after AI companies scraped his work without permission has developed a technological weapon to fight back. And he's not just protecting his own tracks. Lee Jordan, who made a living as an independent musician for 25 years, says he watched tech companies train models on his copyrighted music and then generate inferior versions associated with his name. His response was to create Poisonify, an encoding method that not only makes music untrainable by AI, but actively degrades entire datasets. The technology works by embedding adversarial noise that's inaudible to humans, but catastrophic for machine learning algorithms. When Jordan tested his Poison tracks on major AI music generators like Suno and Minimax Audio, the results were devastating. Systems either crashed entirely or produced what he describes as nightmare fuel. But Jordan's counterattack goes far beyond music protection. His demonstrations show the same techniques can hijack voice assistants, making them respond to phantom commands hidden in classical music, or trick content classification systems into believing explicit audio is Christian folk music. In fact, this ability to insert undetected commands may be one of the more powerful aspects of his Poisonify software. Working with University of Tennessee researchers, Jordan combined his approach with Harmony Cloak, another sabotage method that breaks AI's ability to detect melody and rhythm. The combination creates a feedback loop that makes AI models progressively worse at their jobs. Now Jordan is weaponizing his technique for widespread deployment. He's partnering with Symphonic Distribution to potentially offer the encoding as a service for other musicians, allowing artists to poison their uploads to streaming platforms automatically. And Jordan is also employing and recommending psychological warfare, randomly encoding his discography with real poison, fake poison, or no encoding at all, refusing to reveal which tracks contain what, and preventing AI companies from developing countermeasures. Jordan says artists may soon have a way to push back using technology without having to depend on copyright or IP laws because those things have utterly failed us. And after years of feeling powerless against venture capital-funded AI companies, musicians now have a technological tool that fights fire with fire. There's a link to the YouTube video at technewsday.ca or .com, take your pick, under podcasts. And that's our show. As a musician and as a technologist and a cybersecurity podcaster, I'm a little torn about this final story, but I'd love to hear what you think about it or any other issues. You can reach us at editorial@technewsday.ca. And if you enjoy the podcast, want to support the show, tell a friend. And of course, you're welcome to support us financially at buymeacoffee.com/techpodcast. That's buymeacoffee.com/techpodcast. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a wonderful Wednesday.